So to that point, one of the things that we've found useful as a chaplain corps was to go back to World War II and to look at how chaplains were behaving in World War II at and from the sea. And we've seen some great models in chaplains who were working the deck plate without the constraints and the restraints that possibly we'd have today, in order to inspire, to infuse hope, to touch people in the middle of combat, not before or after. How does that?
Well, I would say you have to do all three, and I would encourage. I'm a reader, and I spent a lot of time in the car, so I'm currently listening after reading years ago D-Day, and I think reading the passages of how chaplains supported on that critical day for the world in the heat of the battle. Another bunch of books to read is really a trilogy: Last Ride of the Tin Can Sailors, Pacific Crucible, and then The Fleet at Flood Tide. That talks about the U.S. Navy in the South Pacific in the early days where we didn't do so well as we put the team together, and then The Fleet at Flood Tide is really, really good, is how our Navy marched our way in from the third island chain all the way inside the first island chain the first time, and what went into that. And I think there's some good lessons there on how to do it. It really goes into, when we were together in the Air Wing and at the fleet level, it really goes into how well you are trained. And you train in Phase 0. But you have to be prepared to deal with crisis and crisis response, Phase 1 and 2, and then the ultimate test when we finally go out for decisive combat ops. But it all comes back to that training. In combat, you don't rise to the level of your expectations, you fall to the level of your training. And so how well the Chaplain Corps can support the sailors in the Marine Corps in the preparation for that crisis, that escalation, and then in combat, that training phase, that preparation phase, the service that you provide this individual sailor and Marine and their commanders is in the precursor phases, and then of course in the meat eating stage, I'll call it, and then afterwards though, the recovery process. We were just talking about your interview with
Carl Melantis.
That's right. In PTS, post-traumatic stress. It's not a syndrome. It is an injury, PTS, and that recovery phase is just absolutely critical as well. So preparing the force to operate throughout that phase. And if General Dunford, the chairman, was here, he doesn't like the term phasing anymore because it's really good as you develop operational plans, but it doesn't work for day-to-day operations at the strategic level because we're operating in Phase 0 to Phase 3, Phase 2 all the time. And if you're in combat, whether you're in crisis response or not, you feel like it's the major big deal. And our opponent doesn't monitor our phasing as well. So we're operating in all of those. And so it's important that the Chaplain Corps supports the individual sailor, Marine, and the combatant commanders through all those phases that are occurring all the time. That makes sense?
It does. It does.